honest with you. This today is probably the most dense of your whole summer program training. Okay, so earlier today, going through the catechism and doing your projects, that it's not hard, but it's probably a little bit more dense than taking a personality test and sharing about your personality, right? This next class is also gonna be like meaty. I think you can do it. Okay, you're halfway there, like you've almost finished. Tomorrow is gonna be, I think, a day where I think you'll enjoy it. It's a very different day. It's more about spirituality and more like reflecting on your own heart and your own experiences. But we do need the content of today. Okay, so this class, let me just share my screen with you. Okay, can you see? Let's see.
Yes.
I tell ya, give me a sec. Okay, now can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so this, as we wanted to start with a Brother Anthony quote. Those that will be coming to Houston will be able to meet his family. They live here in Houston. That's kind of cool. So this one, can someone read what it says?
Conquer yourself and the world lies at your feet.
Excellent. So this is a quote from St. Augustine. So that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to learn right now, is who are we and how can I become a gift to God and to others? So I need to conquer my own self so that I can conquer the world for Christ. Very simply. Okay, so this class, what we're going to look on is maturity. What is it and how Mission Corps prepares you for this? And we're going to look at the rule of life. So something that I think is a good definition of maturity, if you want to write it down, I encourage you to do so. Maturity is when you center yourself like a rotating satellite around your life option. Okay, so I put here different pictures. As you can see, the top left is a consecrated woman in DC. Some of you will be living with her. Her name is Amelia Hoover. She's making her final vows before the Lord at an altar there in Washington, DC. She's making her life option. The bottom left is a consecrated virgin that's not in Regnum Christi, but it's a young woman who feels called to give her life to God. And she is living not in community, but in her house, but totally consecrated to God. It's another vocation within the church called Consecrated Virgin. So that's the day of her consecration. We have in the bottom a group of religious sisters from Spain and how they have made their fundamental option to respond to what God was inviting of them, which was to give their life to God. We have on the right, and I made this the biggest because proportionately, most of you will be called to be a mother, right? So this is a mother. She's educating her daughter. So what I mean by centering yourself around your life option is that, as you described in the last class, that God has created you for a purpose. Only He knows what this is, and it's unique to you. And you are free to choose it or not. And when you choose that life option, let's say marriage for most of you, but it could be other vocations as well, all of your person, your psyche, your heart, your desires, your actions, your spirituality and prayer, it centers and hovers around that option. Does that make sense? Now, I can't see you. Hold on, let me just make you bigger. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so this definition of maturity is not something I made up. I got it from a psychologist and spiritual expert. He's studied both of them. His name is Cincini. His last name is Cincini. And he speaks about this as a goal of maturity. So we're going to look at signs of maturity in your own life. And I'm going to ask you to rank yourself from a 0 to 10. According to the signs that I show you, where am I at as far as how I can live maturity. Again, maturity is important so I can live the vocation God's calling me to. If God's calling you to be a wife and mom, it's so important to be able to fully embrace that. I mean, imagine poor kid. If the mom's like, yeah, I'm a mom, and then she doesn't actually act like a mom, like she leaves for months at end, she, all kind of things. That's really hurtful, right? For the kids, for the husband. So that's why, or as a religious or consecrated, like I choose consecrated life, but then I don't act that way, or I don't pray in that way, or in my mind, I don't see myself in that way, right? It kind of makes sense. So what I want to show you here is that maturity, centering yourself, rotating around your final option, about your life option, this year helps you to center your life on Christ, a means for maturing in self-acceptance. So what we talked about in the first class of Life of Holiness, even more than my specific vocation as wife, mother, but consecrated religious, right now, God hasn't shown that to you. You don't know. But what you do know is God is calling you to center your life on Him, to center your life on Christ. And the more that I choose Christ and then all my options hover around that option, the more mature I am. Okay? So that's why we're talking about maturity in this context of choosing Christ and being able to fulfill that yes that I'm giving Him. And that's why Mission Core Year collabs, it's amazing because it supports you to make that fundamental option in your life. So this is a gift for your life this year. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to give you signs of maturity and I'm going to ask you to rank yourself. Okay, I'm going to read them out loud and then you can rank yourself. So hold on, let me move our little, okay. Signs of maturity, the ability to keep long-term commitments. Okay, think in your mind and heart from 0 to 10. How am I? 10 being the best, 0 being the worst. How am I able to keep long-term commitments? Number 2, and if some of these words don't make sense to you because of the translation and trying to translate in your own mind what this means in Spanish, just ask, just unmute yourself and say, what does that mean? Okay. Number 2, give yourself from 0 to 10 and to be unshaken by flattery or criticism. So when someone flatters me, what's that?
Sorry, what is unshaken?
Good, thank you for asking. Unshaken means that whenever I have made a choice, I'm not changing it because people are flattering me and telling me things and then I choose because they flatter.
Okay.
Or I'm not changing if they're like, you're an idiot, like stop doing that. And they're criticizing me. I'm firm because God's asking me to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Like your mission year, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for asking. Number 3, possesses a spirit of humility. Scale of 0 to 10. How would you rank yourself? Number 4, decisions based on character, not feelings. So do you guys know what that means? Okay, what that means is like, I want to be honest and I want to be, okay, let's say this, purity in your relationship with your boyfriend. I want to be pure and I choose purity. In the moment that I'm with him, maybe I don't feel like being pure, right? So am I going to decide based on what I feel or on who I've chosen to be? You can use anything, honesty, integrity, like I want to be someone of honesty, but in the moment I'm embarrassed, so I want to lie. Yeah, you can kind of keep giving examples. And I won't ask you to share this. This is for you to know. Okay, the next one. Expressed gratitude consistently. So am I a grateful person? Can I see when someone's bending over backwards? Is my heart touched and I actually verbalize, wow, thank you for that? Or do I not notice? People are doing things for me all the time. I take it as for granted that I expect it. 0 to 10. Okay, the next one, knows how to prioritize others before themselves. By this, we're not saying that you should always put others before yourself, but it's just saying you have the ability, you know how to when needed, and you can. Okay, the last one is seeking wisdom before acting. That helps you with maturity because a mature person knows that she doesn't know it all. An immature person's like, I got this, I know everything, leave me alone, right? So, okay, so with those signs of maturity, we're going to move on to the next slide. Okay, so this slide actually, whenever I pull it all up, someone would be able to take a screenshot because we're going to put this in the chat and use this in our breakout groups. Could someone volunteer to do that?
To the group chat in WhatsApp?
Yeah.
I can send it.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, so signs of maturity. 1, could someone read this for me? You just unmute yourself and go for it.
I can read it.
Thank you.
I can give up being the center of attention to dedicate myself to the good for others. I can persevere in a task even when I fear I look stupid. I speak up sharing what I believe to be good and true even if those around me do not agree. I can pardon someone who offended me. I can be at peace if my hard work was attributed to another person.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for doing that, for reading that for us. So these are signs of maturity that I think it's important for us to keep at hand, right? Like if I see that I'm speaking up and I'm saying, you know what, I don't actually agree with this, or this is confusing to me. Why are we saying it this way? Then you're able to say, oh, I'm growing in maturity. If you can say, you know what, I feel so stupid right now, dressing up like a monkey and having to do this, action before the girls. But actually God's asking me to do this and I want to do it because he wants it. Okay, I feel silly, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, I'm growing in maturity, right? When I don't have to be a center of attention and have everything about me, but I can actually say, hey, can you share something about your family? What's going on with you? And bring them into the center. Wow, I'm growing in maturity. This is one of the hardest ones is to be at peace if my hard work was attributed to another person. If you get to that point, congratulations, ladies. I mean, you are really growing into being a mature woman that could really be a holy wife, mother, consecrated, whatever God's calling you. So what I want to look at here is missionary life matures you. And here are some ways psychologically an environment can mature you. And it happens to be that the community life hits all of these things. I was reading this in a book and I'm like, whoa, that's exactly what missionary life does for you. An environment that helps you mature is an environment where there's a mix of generations. So when you're with older people and younger people and there's a mutual learning between all ages, that's what you have when you live with a consecrator, right? Another environmental factor that helps with maturing is learning practical life skills. When you start learning how to budget your own money, which many of you will have to learn because you only have a limited amount of money during your year. So you can even ask the consecrated, teach me how to budget, teach me how to plan. This is how much I have for a year. So how do I make this stretch? When you have to plan a weekend, either a weekend with the community or a weekend retreat, or you're part of a team that's planning a weekend, that really teaches you life skills, how to manage time, money, people. It's a great skill. How to maintain a vehicle. So the consecrated may or may not teach you how to maintain a vehicle, but I'm suggesting if you want to grow in maturity, this might be the only year that you have that you can learn how to maintain a vehicle. Go for it. Ask, say, hey, what can I do to learn this? Because I tell you, at some point in your life, you're going to need to know. Cooking. Perhaps this is the first time that you will be learning how to cook. It's awesome, you know, like download an app. I have an app called Yummy or Yumly or something, Yumly. And I can put anything in the app and it's like, I want Mediterranean. And it shows me pictures and videos and different menus. And it gets me so excited that I'm like, I want to cook for the community, right? So enjoy learning to cook. Preparing for a promotional activity. There's like a mini internship for a career, right? Like whenever you go to a job fair after college, or you're trying to rise to the top of a selection of people to be chosen for a career, the way you prepare for that promotional activity of Mission Corps or ECYD or school is actually training for how you present yourself and prepare yourself when you're looking for a job and you're interviewing, right? So it's really cool how this year matures you. Opportunities for service are abundant in our community life. Opportunities to practice maturity, which again are these signs that I can persevere when I look silly. I'm not going to be the center of attention. I can pardon someone if they offend me. That one is huge. Pardoning someone that'll offend me. You will get offended and you will offend people. The key to community life is forgiving. And that key, if you can forgive, you're going to grow in maturity, right? So the next one is rewarding appropriately. So this is a big one, right? That when you're working with girls, even especially at an academy, I'm thinking, but ECYD, Regnum Christi, anywhere, it's not just like flattering them all the time, like, oh, your hair is so pretty, and oh, you're so pretty, and oh, you're so smart, or all of the external things, but it's rewarding them when they've worked hard. And when they haven't, you don't have to like criticize them, but it's not that you need to award them, or, you know, it's like when it's appropriate. Another one is establish boundaries. Oh, sorry, awarding appropriately. I want to share with you, this could be hard for you because depending on the way you were raised, when you're in our community life, the consecrated award, if you will, appropriately. So they're probably not going to every day like clap for you, like, oh my gosh, you got out of bed on time, whoa, yeah. Or they're not going to be like, you did your morning meditation, you're such an awesome missionary. It's like going to be given. Okay, so I just want to warn you of this, that you may not feel like, oh, they're not that affectionate, or they're not that. No, when it's appropriate, they're going to cheer for you and they're going to be like, dang, I saw you overcome yourself. Good job. But things that are like a given, they're going to be expecting you just to live the normal, right? So I just wanted to share that with you. They're going to be taking for granted that you're mature. So, and then rituals is another one, which we have a lot of rituals in our community: mass, prayers, meals, etc. So maturity in the Mission Corps life happen because our daily actions revolve around my Mission Corps option. Like, I've chosen to be a missionary this year, and all of my daily actions are going to revolve around that. But I'm free to have it revolve around it or not, right? I'm free to have my social media with my option to be a missionary or not. I'm free to have my drive to live charity with my sisters, choosing that or not. So maturity is expressed when one can serve the other freely. So a basic main principle that missionary life is based on is human and Christian service. So that's what I'm choosing. When I've chosen to be a missionary with Regnum Christi, I'm choosing, and I think it's so important you guys know this, I'm choosing human and Christian service. Human and Christian service. Why? Because Christ first chose this way, and he's giving us an example to follow. He says, I have given you an example to follow. As I have done for you, you should do also. John 13:15. So our option is Christ. Our option is service as Christ has served. And he says, as a command here, to do what he has done. So for a whole year, this is what you're choosing. And this matures you humanly and prepares you for marriage or whatever vocation God is calling you to. Human maturity allows one to love with the heart of Christ. So the fruit or the thing that comes out of serving as Christ serves is at the end of the day, you get to have his very heart as your heart. What a reward. How beautiful. He's your reward, that you live with his joy, his peace. Wow, that's awesome. So before I break you into groups, I just want to touch on this part, that maturity is also a psychological journey from adolescence, self-centeredness, to Christ-centeredness. What do I mean? Okay, so you see here on the left, it's Christ-centered. So could someone read, what are the expressions or how do you feel whenever you are Christ-centered? You can just unmute yourself and speak.
Peace, joy, fulfilled, content, eternal perspective, and trust concerns to God, and able to love sincerely.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Could someone share the expressions or the feelings of whenever you're me-centered? Just unmute yourself.
Anxiety, depression, empty, discontent, immediate gratification, controls, unable to love sincerely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for doing that. Now, I want you to get out your pen and just write. In the past 24 hours, which feelings have I experienced more abundantly? Have I experienced peace, joy, fulfillment, content? Have I thought more about heaven? Have I had a trusting heart? Have I loved people sincerely? Has that been more dominant? Or, and again, you're not going to share this. This is just for a self-check. It's kind of like taking your pulse, spiritually taking your pulse. Have I felt anxious, depressed, empty, like a lack of meaning? Have I wanted to gratify myself immediately that I've felt something? Have I wanted to control the situation? Have I been insincere in the way I've loved? So this is a very quick way when you do your night prayers and you're like, I don't know what to do. I just do my prayer and I'm like, okay, love you. Have a good night. It's good to then go into a little bit more like, what feelings have dominated my day? And just list them out. Feelings aren't bad either way. Even if you're like anxiety, a feeling in and of itself is not a moral judgment. Just list it out. And if you see your feelings are going more towards the me-centered side, that should tell you something, right? If after you list them out and then you look at the paper and you're like, oh, actually, it's sad, depressed. It's like, I've been wanting to control my sisters, my brothers. I've been wanting to get out of this house. Like, I've been like lying. That shows you, okay, there's something fake about the way I'm living. if I see that I have peace and joy and I'm striving, but maybe I'm messing up, but I'm trying to love and I'm trying to be sincere, then it's like, okay, I'm really striving after the Lord. So if you see that you're more me-centered, simple. You don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm the worst person ever. You just turn your eyes back to the Lord and say, Lord, look at this. Like, I'm so centered on myself. Can you help me? Can you help me? I want to put my heart in your heart. I want to be a missionary that makes an impact in souls. And I only make an impact if my heart's like yours. Please let me love like you. Transform my heart. Okay, so this is like a little cheat sheet, like you would have. It's a cheat sheet, but to see like, where am I at as far as the way I'm living before God? And it's also will point you to human and psychologically, if I'm giving of myself and being mature or immature. Does that make sense? Up, down. Okay, we got a couple thumbs up. We got about half the thumbs up. Okay, cool, awesome. So what we're gonna do right now, okay, awesome. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, if you can pull up your, let's see here, your rule of life. So it's on the website that Lisa sent you guys. And under the website, then there's documents, and click on documents and then click on RCMC handbook. So I know in Mexico, you have a different handbook, but these are the same principles all around the world. So what we're gonna do, and that's why I wanted to break you into groups. There's gonna be 5 groups, because you see there's gonna be 5 points. There's 3.1, characteristic virtues. And then there's 3.2, dealings with others. And then there's, here it is, 3.3, self-discipline, work ethic. 3.4 is dress code. And 3.5 is media use, okay? So you're gonna have 5 groups. Each group takes one of these areas. You're gonna read it, and then you're going to say, how does living out this principle help you to grow in maturity? Okay, it's not gonna be like rocket science. It's not gonna take like a 30-minute like research project, right? It's just gonna be you guys discussing it and sharing how these elements allow you as a missionary to live with greater maturity. Now, before we break out, I want to give one example, okay? So the example I want to give is, and maybe you've heard it before because it's a typical example in morality class, but let's say that I live on a cliff in California, because it's actually really gorgeous. They have like, their yards go literally into the ocean. So there's a cliff, I have this gorgeous backyard, and it's like pretty expensive to live there. And because, let's say that I have children, because I love my children, I have a fence around the yard, right before the cliff starts, because my kids love soccer. And I know that, they're so young, let's say 5 and 3 years old, that if I don't have a fence there, some kind of boundary, the ball will go over at the very least. And probably my children, one of my kids, will go after the ball and just fall right into the cliff. And they would probably lose their life if I don't have good boundaries like this fence. On the other hand, if I don't think about it and I just have this beautiful property and I'm like, okay, everyone's free, just do what you want. And I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old and they're out playing soccer and I don't have a fence. I mean, craziness can happen, right? I want you to think about this, because whenever there's someone that genuinely loves you, there's healthy boundaries that keep you safe. Right. And so God has done that. That's why we have the 10 commandments, other major things. That's like, if you go past this period, it's actually going to harm you. So I'm going to put a boundary here so that you don't pass, because if you do, like, I can't help you anymore. You've used your freedom to destroy yourself. And I don't want you to do that, because you're free, but I want you to know if you go past this place, like, it's over. So, so whenever the church puts rules or boundaries in place, it's always to help us live what's going to give us life, right? And so as a missionary, I want you to think of that for the handbook and the ways that you're called to live this year. You're not called to live this way every year. This is not the model of holiness every year. This is the way of being a missionary, the call that God's inviting you to. And these boundaries are what's going to help you to flourish and mature this year, right? According to the option you've made, this is actually going to help you flourish. So I wanted to just emphasize that before we get into the manual. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, the way the church uses morality and rules and guidelines, it's not to make us limited, like, and depressed. Is to help us flourish. Like, dude, if you go this way, you're going to be happy. Keep going that way. And it's like, okay, thanks. Right. So that's what we want to look at when we're looking at the rule of life. So let me share with you the teams. First of all, make sure everybody has up on Google the did you guys find it? You know where it is? Okay, if you can't, let me know. So breakout room number 1, I just put it like random. So it's going to it created it like out of a hat. So group number 1, you're going to have 3.1. This is Jean, Paloma, and Regina. You have 3.1, okay, and the handbook. So you need to read it and say, okay, how do these guidelines, how can they help me to mature this year? According to what we learned maturity is. Breakout room 2, this is Ceci, Lisa, and Maria. You guys have 3.2. Breakout room 3 is Monse and Vivi. You have 3.3. Breakout room 4 is Anna Chris, Isabel, Sarah. You have 3.4. 3.5 is Elizabeth or Lizzie, Grace, and Isa. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys.
And Sophie?
Oh, you know what? I think maybe because.
He can join us. We are only 2.
I don't have a group either.
Me?
Okay.
I didn't even hear my name.
Oh, you know why? Because I did it on the break. So whoever was connected on the break got into a room. Okay, perfect. I'm going to add Sophie.
I was connected.
Oh, I don't know what happened. Who knows? But I'll add you. Okay, so Sophie, you're going to go to room 2. Let's see.
With who?
Room 2 is, oh, no. You're going to go to Monse and Vivi's room. And then all the other groups have 3. So I'm just going to start adding you guys. Okay, so Jean, Paloma, and Regina, you're going to have Anna Pau. And then Ceci and Maria, you'll have Paula. And then Monse, Sophia, and Vivi, you'll have Adriana.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'll give you like 5 minutes or so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.